What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I hope y'all are doing well out there. This video is going to be a little unpolished. Basically, I'm at the end of my work day, a little tired, didn't really plan anything, but I do have something that's top of mind for me this evening, so I want to talk about it, and that is the Fujifilm X-T50. I've been using this camera for about a month and a half, 2 months now, and I've been using it pretty consistently. During the week, I bring it with me to the coffee shop when I get ready to go work from there, and get a few snaps here and there. On the weekend, when I get ready to go out for any type of event, that could be something like a farmer's market, going to get coffee downtown, going to the county fair, as you saw in a previous video. I'm also using it for that, and what I can say about it is I really love this camera. I'm getting some really high quality images. I'm able to use film recipes, film simulations. It is super compact and inconspicuous, so it doesn't bother people too much. And overall, it's just a really good EDC camera. But as I'm looking at some of the comments from previous videos about the Fuji X-T50 and looking at other photography channels cover this camera, I think there's a bit of a weird narrative around this camera that I kind of just want to speak to. Now, as I look at other photography channels talk about the Fuji X-T50 as they have their hands-on time with it, for the most part, they're much like me. They're saying a lot of good things, really testifying to its good image quality and just overall use. But I do think there are 2 points that they're either not touching on or they're not really putting as much emphasis on, and it's really kind of creating this weird narrative about this camera. And so what I'd like to do today is really just speak to those 2 points and really try to clear the air on this camera and really identify what its true purpose is. But with all that said, let's go and dive into the video. All right, so real quick, the first point is about that film simulation dial on the Fuji X-T50. A lot of other photographers have talked about that ad nauseum on their YouTube channels, but there seems to be one thing that they're really not mentioning or driving home about that film simulation dial being there. The thing that they're not telling you is that because that film simulation dial is there is no ISO dial. Yes, they probably already said that, but what that means is ISO has been moved over to the right side of the camera. And so what that means, hold on, let me just put the hand strap on so I can show you. With the front here, I can hit this dial to change my ISO. I press it in, and then I can start adjusting my aperture if it's digital aperture and not on the lens. With this back wheel here, I can more granularly adjust my shutter speed if I'm not already messing with it on the top here. I also have the shutter button, of course. And then this tiny little button right here, I have mapped to be my teleconverter, so 1.4x, 2x cropping in. And then of course on the back here, I have my little button that I use to swap between all of my different custom settings for my programmed recipes. Now, what does this mean? Because the X-T50 is already so compact and all the controls for shooting, all the basic controls for shooting have been moved over to the right-hand side, this is essentially one of the best one-handed Fujifilm cameras. As you're shooting, you can adjust, move quickly, toggling things with the thumb, with the index finger, and really adjusting your settings and not having to lift your second hand to change an ISO dial. And with summertime now you have a free hand for snow cones. So I think that's a major benefit of the film simulation dial on the X-T50. Now, the second point of misconception about this camera, and I think this is the one that's really driving the weird narrative and causing people to second guess the Fuji X-T50, is that the Fuji X-T50 is a baby X-T5. Even Fujifilm themselves in some of their intro videos when they were doing the announcement, they mentioned that. And I've seen a lot of photography channels talk about that. And there's been this weird narrative of for a few $100s more, you can get the X-T5, which is an all-around better camera. But I think this is misguided because I don't think the Fuji X-T50 is a baby X-T5. I think the Fuji X-T50 is an X106. Now, like you, I don't have an X106 with me. I mean, I was on the wait list. Y'all are probably on the wait list. But I think they basically took the X106, took it out of that rangefinder style body and put it in the X-T50 body. Now, across all 3 cameras, the sensor is the same, that 40 megapixel sensor. The processor is the same, the X-Trans 5 processor. For the most part, the video capabilities are the same. And so overall, what that means is that across all 3 cameras, you're pretty much gonna get the same type of image quality. Now, As we get into the more deeper features and start looking at a comparison, if you look at all three of these cameras side by side, you'll see that the X-T50 is more like the X100VI than the X-T5. They both share the same battery. They both have one card slot, though the X-T50 does use UHS 2. They both have the same tilt screen where it only tilts in the landscape fashion. It doesn't do dual tilt like the X-T5. They both have built-in flash, which is a pro of both of them, and they're both super compact, so they're meant for everyday carry, just being touted around either in small bags, in a pocket, you know, easy to stow away. The X-T50 and the X100VI are both EDC cameras. Those are their purpose. The purpose of the X-T5 is, yes, you can do EDC, but it's more for travel. It's more if you want to start doing more professional work. And yeah, those are the purposes of this camera. Yes, you can spend a couple $100s more and get an X-T5, but by then you're kind of changing the purpose that you're using the camera for. Yes, this is less pro, though I personally believe that pro is more about the person than the camera. If you're a pro photographer, you're a pro photographer. You're gonna take pro level style photos, period, in my mind anyway. But this is a great camera. No, it does not have weather sealing, and the X100VI, if you put a filter on the lens, does have weather sealing. This is still pretty much comparable to the X100VI. And so the reason I'm saying that, and the reason I really want to drive that particular point home, is that I know a lot of y'all are on that X100VI wait list. I know you're waiting on that camera, and I'm just like, y'all are gonna miss out on summer, taking some really good summer shots, really good shots throughout the rest of the year, all because you're waiting on something that is essentially already here. So what I would recommend is if you're on the waiting list for the X100VI, don't take yourself off just yet. Look at the X-T50, inspect it, try it out if you can at your local camera store. If you can, try to find the 27mm lens or the 23mm, which is pretty much comparable to the lens on the X100VI. But the point is, just look at the X-T50. I would hate for you to go the whole rest of the year without your EDC camera, without capturing those moments, when you could be up and running relatively quickly with the X-T50. And so that's my piece, y'all. I didn't really have too much more to say on that. I think that calling this camera a miniature version of this camera is misguided. I think this is much more of a parallel to the more popular X100VI. And because it is so popular and you can't get your hands on it, this is an amazing alternative to it. You're basically getting the same camera in my opinion. But what are your thoughts? You know, do you think I'm wrong? Do you think this is more like the X-T5? Do you just still hate the film simulation dial on the X-T50? Would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and drop this video a like. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the notification bell to stay informed on any future content I may release. And until next time, I will catch y'all later.